On April 19, 1984, the Canam Manac Group acquired the assets of Thames Steel Construction Limited of Toronto in order to improve its competitive position in Ontario and in Western Canada. Thames Steel Construction Limited was the largest manufacturer of steel joists in Ontario. Here's a word from some of our employees to discuss their time over the last 40 years.
I actually was here 40 years ago. I had a great little gig as a 12-year-old, cutting the grass at the office at Thames Steel. $5 a week.
I've been here 23 years. I started as the HR manager.
I've been working here since 1998.
I started from Canam in 2001.
Ning was one of my first hires.
March 2010.
Been with Canam since, I guess it's February 1994.
I started at Canam 4 years ago.
I think I am the shortest time period at Canam. I joined at March 2022.
My short-term memory is short to hell, but I remember my long-term memory still exists.
Having the orientation in a small boardroom that was before the renovation, and I was just thinking to myself, I am back in the 1980s because that was so old.
I can't really remember that much happening the first day I got here because I remember meeting Michelle, who was at reception at the time, coming up in the old building where the sign is right now at the top of the stairs. She said, just go upstairs, turn left, your office is there. And I think I sat there for 4 hours before anybody spoke to me.
Right from when I was here, from day one, the customer was always the number one focus.
If you go back and you think about back in history when Marcel was, when I say Marcel, I mean Mr. Dutil, but he would always say the customer's the boss as long as he pays his bill.
In the shop, many times where we do crazy stuff for our customers. Sometimes we spend more time than we should and we lose production, we lose efficiency, but at the end of the day, the customer is happy, so we know it was worth it.
When I first started, we were just having the conversation about guiding principles. And one of the things I spent a fair amount of time on was coaching shop employees that we're not just looking at the external customers, that everybody in the building is a customer of somebody.
It's impressive, actually. Over the years, that relationship has never changed.
The focus on customer relationships has never changed at Canam, but some changes were happening 40 years ago. In 1984, Apple sold their first ever personal computer. Even then, it was $2,000. Sony also unveiled the first ever commercial CD player. Some things change and some stay the same, but mostly it's a matter of perspective.
You were barely born in the 1980s.
I was not born.
If I think of the deck manufacturing, we still put a sticker, we still put a label on every bundle, but they used to be handwritten. Now they're printed.
Before, I remember the detailing we're using the paper cutting. So all those change in the last 20 years is try to catch the pace and they always provide the best service to the customer.
The emphasis on safety has been the biggest shift that I've seen.
It says a lot about an employer that cares about the health and safety of its employees.
We have to still strive for being a global leader for health and safety, for sure.
The shop is never a set place. There's always movement around. There's always new process created just for specific projects.
The people 25 years ago, 40 years ago cared about safety just as much as we do now. People are people. But our perspective on things has really changed. So what was acceptable 40 years ago, 20 years ago, is just not acceptable now anymore.
And that perspective has led to a mindset of continuous improvement within Canam. With a focus on increasing productivity and maintaining a high standard for health and safety, Canam adopted the lean management philosophy and instituted Kaizens to manage change throughout the plant and office.
One of the ones I'm thinking of is the paint bay. They asked, how many tons can we produce? Let's say it's 400 tons a week at the time. How many tons can we paint? Well, 500 tons. Well, if we can paint more than we can produce, why do we have so many tons piled up in an unsafe manner around the paint shop? And it's like a light bulb went off. And people that had been there 25 years that thought nothing would change, they changed that day. The Kaizen was a week long. I believe they changed that day.
At the end of the Kaizen was oh, we have some other problems as well. I think we should do Kaizen on those too to make it more simpler and better.
That gets recognized outside too, right? Like we have a lot of clients that recognize the drive that we have to continuously improve.
Many changes have occurred at Canam over the years. Let's take a moment to look back on some of the employees that helped with those changes. Finally, you should all be proud of the part that you played in improving Canam.
My gallant, who's probably going to be here, and Abdul, I owe them my entire career in Canam, because if it hadn't been for Mike encouraging me to better myself and giving me the opportunity, maybe I may not have been here or, exploiting my full potential in this organization. And for me to get an opportunity to do that, it's forever grateful.
Things change, and the people were what made this place so attractive to me and kept me here.
I'm pretty sure that's a lot of development and research already put in this part, and I'm very anxious to see, it can be used for the future design and the fabrication process.
One thing about Canam being employee focused is you can check the number of years of experience that the employees have, like more than 25, 26, 29.
So if we keep focusing on those aspects, I have no doubt in my mind that Canam is here to stay for a really, really long time.
If we continue on the same path we have been on, and just to continue with the customer focus, the focus on safety, if we see what we've done the last 40 years, I think we have a lot to be excited about for the next 40 years.